Hi guys, you're welcome back to my channel. In this video, you're going to learn how to cut and sew this simple Ankara peplum wrap top in less than an hour. So if this is something you're interested in learning how to cut and sew, trust me, this tutorial is for you. If you're also coming across my channel for the first time, my name is Ifeoluwa and thank you very much for stopping by. Please do not forget to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and also feel free to leave your questions and your comments in the comment section. Thank you very much guys. Now let's get started. So these are the tools and the fabric I'm going to use. This is my Ankara fabric. I think I have about 2 yards here. I can't really remember. And then this is my lining that I'll use to line the Ankara fabric. Now I'm going to start with the upper part of my top, that is the fitted part of the top. I'm going to fold my fabric into two this way. I'll start with the cutting of the back. So after folding my fabric into two, I'm going to measure out to know if I have enough for the cutting. So that is the largest part of the body size, the body measurement I'll be using here. That is my bust divided by 4 plus my allowance, that is about 2 inches. So I have just enough on my fabric right now. So I'm going to draw out a straight line here. So from this line, I'm going to take my measurements. So this line is going to be the shoulder line. So I'm going to measure out my chest line measurement starting from this shoulder line that I already have here, which is the armhole circumference divided by 2. So that's it for my chest line. I'm going to measure out the waistline measurement, which is where my peplum is going to start from. So that is the flay. That is where I want the flay to start from, the waistline area. So I'll do the same thing on the other side, and I'm going to connect with a straight line. Now on this shoulder line here, I'm going to input my across back measurement divided by 2. So that is the shoulder to shoulder divided by 2. I have 16 divided by 2, which is 8 inches. I'll do the same thing on the chest line. Then I'm going to connect a straight line. So what we want to do here is to create the armhole curve. Now from the shoulder line here, I'm going to come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slant, and then whatever I have left, I'll divide by 2 and mark that point. So from that point, I'm going to come in by 0.5. Now on the chest line, I'm going to repeat my bust measurements. That is my bust divided by 4. I have 38 inches divided by 4, which is 9.5, and I'm going to add an extra 1 inch for ease. So that is for the chest line area. If you don't want it to be opening, if you don't want to put pin or brooch or something, you can just add an additional 1 inch there, so it's going to be perfectly closed. Then I'm going to connect those 3 points together to create my armhole curve. So now I already have my bust on the chest line, and I'm going to input my waistline measurement. So my waist divided by 4 is 9 inches, and then I'm going to connect from the chest line down to the waistline. Now for my neckline, I'm using 3.5 inches for the neck width and then 1 inch for the neck depth. So for the neck depth of the back is going to be high. The back neckline is going to be higher than the front neckline. So I'm going to connect that with my armhole curve, and then I'm going to use my ruler to connect my shoulder slants. So guys, this is all for the back. Then I'll go ahead to add all the necessary allowances to the measurements that I've already taken. Do not forget to add your allowance. So for the side, I used 1.5, and then for the lower part, which is the waistline, I used 0.5, the armhole also 0.5, the shoulder slant, and then the neckline 0.5 inch for allowance. So now that I'm done with that, I'll go ahead to cut out what I have. If you are still watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, please do not forget to subscribe and also give this video a thumbs up so it can be visible to many more people. Thank you very much guys. So that is it for the back. Then I'm going to use my back to cut out the front, that is the wrap part of the top. So you know that there is not going to be any zip or anything. It's the front that is going to be open. So I'm going to use my back to cut out the front. And you can see the way I placed my back on the front. I have an additional some extra inches towards the front part like this. Towards this part, I have additional fabric here. So that is what we're going to use for the wrap top, so that it can be perfectly wrapped. So the measurement I used for the extra fabric I have for the front is my waist measurement divided by 2. What I have here on my waist, which is 9 inches divided by 2, I have 4.5. So that 4.5 is what I have extended here plus ½ inch for sewing allowance. So altogether what I have here is 5 inches. So now what I'm going to do is to extend this line here so that I can cut out exactly what I now have here, leaving this part that I've already extended. So this is what I have after cutting out. Now it is time to finish up what I have for the front. So I'm going to mark out the neckline that I have at the back here so that I can use it to draw out what I have for my front. So after marking out my neckline here, all I just have to do is to connect with my ruler. I'm using a slant down to the lower part, but before doing that, I'm going to leave space for the rope where I want the rope to be. So I'm using about 2 inches. I'm coming up by about 2 inches here just for the space of the rope, so I can sew the rope to that part there. So after leaving the space for the rope, I can then go ahead to connect my line from that part down to the neckline. So after doing that, I'll go ahead to cut out what I have. So guys, this is what I have for the upper part, that is the fitted part of my wrap top. You can see how the back looks like, and you can see how the front looks like. So I joined both front and the back together here so that I can take the measurements of the waistline, so I can know what to cut for the peplum, for my flares I'm about to cut. So I decided to pin the allowance that I left there, that is 1.5 for the sewing allowance. So I pinned that together so that I can know the accurate waistline measurements that I have here. So I hope you understand what I'm doing. Then I opened it up this way and measured out what I have on my waistline. So altogether here I have 47 inches as my waistline. So normally I have 36 as my waistline, but because of the fact that we've extended the top for the front part so that it can be wrapped well, that is why we have 47 inches instead of the normal waistline measurements of mine, which is 36 inches. So I'm going to show you the formula here to cut out a perfect flare. So the flare I'm using here is a 360-degree flare, and to cut out a 360-degree flare you need your waist measurement divided by 6.28 for the radius of the flare. So the radius of the flare is also what you put on the waistline of the flare. Now I have 47 inches divided by 6.28, so altogether I have 7.5 approximately. Now this 7.5 is what is going to be on the waistline for our flare, then plus the length of the flare. I'm using 11 inches in total, so altogether I have 18.5 inches. So this 18.5 inches now is going to guide me on how to cut out my flare without wasting fabric and without wasting time. Now this is what I have. If you want to cut out a perfect 360-degree flare without wasting your fabric, that 18.5 that I got there, I'm going to measure it out this way. See how I measure it out, then I'm going to fold it like this. So after folding it this way, and I'm sure that it is 18.5 that is here, I'm also going to measure out that 18.5 again across that way, and then I'll fold it. So that way we have it folded into 4 places, so I can easily cut out my flare like this. But then due to the fact that I want to have little pleats on my peplum on my top, I'm not going to use the exact measurement that I have gotten there. I'm going to use what I have. I'm going to use my old fabric, everything I have on my fabric, fold it equally like that, and then I'll also go ahead to fold it the other way. So I'm doing this because I want to have little pleats on my fabric, on my peplum. But if you don't want to have pleats, just use the exact value that you've already measured out, that you've already calculated for the flare, that's 18.5. use the exact value. But if you want to have pleats, you make sure that you have extra additional. You can add an additional 5 inches to that 18.5, and then you fold your Ankara fabric according to that. So I have about 22 inches in total here. You can see 22 inches here, and then I'm also going to measure out the other side, which must be 22 inches, so that you won't have one part longer than the other. So the other part too must be 22 inches, so you have an equal side. You have equal sides for this. Now normally if you were to follow what we've calculated, you just take this waist that we calculated here at 7.5 and you measure it out here, and then you measure the rest for your length. But due to the fact that I'm not using this accurate 7.5, I want additional extra inches because of the pleats. I'm going to first of all take the measurements that I want for the length of the peplum, so that is 11 inches, and then I'll measure what I have left. So what I have left here is about 10.5 inches. So you can see it is no longer 7.5 because I wanted to have little pleats. So that is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to measure that 10.5 round. So this is going to be for the waist of the peplum. So after measuring out the waistline of the peplum of the flare I'm using, I can now go ahead to measure out the length that I want for my peplum, which is 11 inches. So I'll go ahead to measure that all round, and then I'll connect them together. So after doing that, I can then go ahead to cut out what I have. So after cutting out, you see that all sides will be closed. Then I'm going to open up just one side. Make sure that this is only one side you're opening up. So guys, this is what I have. This is my flare, and then I have my front and the back. So now I'll go ahead to cut out the lining I'm going to use to turn over my main fabric. So this is what I have after cutting out the lining. So all you just have to do is to place your main fabric, that is the Ankara fabric or whatever fabric you're using, on the lining, and then you trace it out. So this is what I have for my front, and this is what I have for my back. Now for the sleeves, I went with a short sleeve. You can go ahead and use whatever sleeve you want. And then this is what I have for the rope of the wrap top. So you make sure that it is long enough. I'm going to join all this together because my fabric was not enough to cut out a straight long rope. So I'm going to join them together to give me a long rope. Now it is time to join all of this together. So this is my back and this is my front. I'm going to start by joining the shoulders of both the back and the front together. So I'm going to start with the fabric separately and the lining separately. Now for the flay too, I'm going to use my lining to turn over the lower part, that is the M line of the flay. So using the lining, I'm going to sew using 0.5 inch and I'll turn over the M line of the flay. So this is what I have. Just sew it all around until you get to the end. And then after getting to the end, I'm also going to sew the sides together using 0.5 inch. I'll do the same thing for the other side. So guys, this is what I have after joining them together. This is for my rope. I've already joined it together and then I've gone ahead to sew the rope. And then this is what I have for my flay. I've gone ahead to sew the lower part and then the sides. I'm gonna ahead to sew that. So the only part I have open is the waistline area. That is the upper part here. The part I'll be joining to the waistline of the top. Now for the upper part of the top, I've also gone ahead to join the shoulders together, the lining separately and my fabric and the main fabric separately. Now what I'm going to do next is to open up this way and then I'm going to sew the part that is representing like the neckline. So I'm going to sew this all around. Now before sewing this all around, I'm going to fix in the rope so that I can sew the rope too with it without the rope being rough. So I'm going to put the rope inside the fabric like this and I'll pin together. So while attaching the rope to the fabric, you make sure that you leave 0.5 inch for the joining of the waistline so that the rope won't interfere when you want to join the waistline. So I'm going to pin the rope to the fabric this way and then I'll be using the lining to cover it up. So I'll go ahead to do the same thing for the other side and then I'm going to sew using 0.5 inch all round. So I'll go ahead to sew this using 0.5 all around, and after doing that I'm going to sew the sides using 0.25, just a little bit so that the sides won't come out rough. So all the sides I'm going to sew using 0.25. So guys, this is what I have after sewing. You can see how it looks like. Now I'm going to bring out my fabric to the other side. So you can see how it looks like. You can see the sides and then the only part open is the armhole and the waistline area, and then you can also see how the rope looks like. The only thing you have to do here is just to make sure that you perfectly iron this part so that it's going to stay very well. So the next thing for me to do is to add my sleeves. So I already cut out a short sleeve for this. Go ahead, cut out whatever sleeve that you prefer. I cut out a short sleeve for this. I'm going to join the sleeves to the armhole area, and then after joining the sleeves I can now go ahead to sew the sides together using the 1.5 inches as I left for the allowance. So that is after joining the sleeves. So I'm going to have just the waistline open. So guys, this is what I have after joining the sides together and my sleeves to the top. So sometimes you can see that you have some type of wrap tops that are like this without putting the flare there. So you can go ahead to also leave yours like this if that is what you want. But since I'm going to be doing a peplum wrap top, I'm going to attach my flare to the upper parts. Now before attaching the flare, I'm going to notch out the midpoint of the flare, so this way it's going to be easy for you to join when joining. So I'm going to do the same thing on my fabric, that is the top part of the top. I'm also going to notch the midpoints of the back. So from there I can now join the flare to the top. So to attach, I'm going to first of all pin the midpoints together, and then I'm going to go to the end and also pin the ends together. Then I'm also going to do the same thing for the other end. So you can see this excess fabric that we have at the middle of both sides. This is what I'm going to pleat. So this is my main reason for having an excess waistline measurement when I was measuring out while cutting the flare. So you can see how it looks like, and then you can also see how the pleats look like. Now the last thing to do here is to create a little hole here that is at the side. You can pick one side. I decided to go with the left side, I created a little hole here so that I'll be able to pass my rope and I'll be able to wrap this top perfectly. So you just create like 1 inch here, just losing out 1 inch, and then you stitch up the remaining. So when you are losing out, you make sure that you lose towards the waistline area, because the waistline is already stitched, and then you make sure that you stitch the upper parts that you already lose. So you can just leave about 1 inch or 1.5, enough for the rope to pass through. So this is how it will look like after opening up that part, but just make sure that you stitch up the remaining parts there. So guys, the peplum wrap top is ready, and then you can see how beautiful it came out. You don't have to waste too much time while doing this. And then we've come to the end of this tutorial. Let me know if you're going to try this in the comment section, and let me know if this was helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe before leaving, and also give this video a thumbs up. If you have questions for me, do not hesitate to ask in the comment section. Thank you very much guys for watching. I'm going to see you in my next tutorial. Bye.